Well, hopefully the sound quality's good, and I'm gonna try and read through this at length and not take as many pauses this time, all right? Might have to be using my captain's voice out here, you know what I mean? But the Vikings are what now? 6-4. The Packers are 3-6. I think the last time I was talking about the Vikings and the Packers, I'm pretty sure the Vikings were 1-4. Right? And now the Packers are 3-6. They're looking like the losers of the division, man, beside the Bears. But yeah, I hope the Vikes get that win this weekend against the Broncos, and hopefully y'all keep adventuring with me on this journey of Beowulf, because it's a pretty awesome tale, and I think you'll be very amazed, right, at the power of the ending of this story. So here we go. Back at it, right? Back at it. Hrothgar spoke when he arrived at the hall, standing on a step, looked up to the high roof adorned with gold and with Grendel's hand. For this sight let us give thanks at once to the ruler of all. I have endured many afflictions, griefs caused by Grendel. Ever may God work wonder after wonder as guardian of the world. Not long ago I had no reason to hope that I might receive remedy as long as I lived from any of these woes, while the best of halls stood stained with blood. Gory from battle, misery spread wide among all the wise counselors who dared not hope they might ever defend their fortified home from hateful foes, wicked spirits and demons. Now, as a warrior performed that deed through the power of the Lord, which until this time none of us could contrive how to do it ourselves. Hail to the woman who may say, if still living, that she gave birth to such a son among all the peoples of the earth. And the ancient ruler bestowed a great gift in the birth of her child. Now I tell you, Beowulf, the best of men, I wish you for my son with heartfelt love, to hold from now on a new bond of kinship. Nor will you lack any of the worldly goods that I have the power to give. Often for lesser deeds I have handed out rewards, prizes of hoard treasures to a more lowly man, one weaker in fighting. That you have yourself performed such feats that your fame shall live forever and ever. May the ruler of all reward your great goodness as he has so far. Then Beowulf spoke, the son of Ecgtheow. We have fought the fight, the test of courage, with much goodwill, braving with boldness unknown monstrous might. I would rather that you could have seen Grendel himself with your own eyes. The foe in his war gear, falling weary unto death, as quickly as I could, I tried with strong grips to bind him down to a bed of slaughter. So that he, in the powerful hold of my hands, would lie in death torment, lest his body slip away. Yet the Maker of all did not wish that I might hinder his going. I could not hold the life destroyer hard enough. So by a great effort of strength, he made his escape. But he did leave behind his hand, arm and shoulder, in a desperate move to break free with his life. Yet the foe in his frenzy could not buy relief by paying that price. For the loathsome marauder will live no longer, tormented for sins by his gaping fatal wound. But his gaping fatal wound has caught him completely in the grip of death, with unbreakable bonds. Thus he must wait for the day of judgment, smeared with his sins, to learn his doom from the God of glory. Man, the glory of God. Then the son of Ecthael became more silent. No longer boasting of his deeds in battle, while nobles looked on, the sign of his strength, the hand of Grendel high up by the roof, the fingers of the foe, each one tipped with a thick, sharp nail, as strong as steel. The claws of the heathen suited for slashing in horrible slaughter. So each of the heroes said, no sword known to man, no weapon of old could do any harm to the bloody battle hand of that terrible demon, or diminish its power. Then was it ordered that Heorot quickly be decorated throughout by the many hands there, both of men and of women, who made ready that wine hall. Great building desks, gold folding tables, shown along walls, most wondrous of sights. I wonder if that guy's been out to the Black Hills like I took y'all there. Looks like a pretty sweet bike too, by the way. Shown along walls, most wondrous of sights, the assembly of people staring at them in awe. That bright building had much that was broken all over inside, yet it still stood fast through its iron bands with the door hinges sprung. Only the roof survived completely undamaged, when the monstrous creature, fouled with horrid deeds, sought to make his flight without hope of life. There is no easy way to flee from one's fate. Try as one may, but every soul bearer, every child of men, each dweller on earth is destined to seek his appointed place, compelled by necessity, with his body held fast in its bed of death, to sleep after feasting. There's no way to escape one's destiny. The Almighty God is the giver of each destiny. The word of the Lord is holy, holy, holy. Then was the time fitting for the son of Healfdene to enter the hall, for the king wished to join in the festive event. Never have I heard that a greater host of people bore themselves better with their giver of treasure. The glorious gathering sat down on the benches to rejoice at the feast, while in the high hall Hrothgar, Hrolf, the kinsman of those strong-hearted men, drank many a mead cup in great goodwill. All Heorot throughout was filled with friends, for treacheries had not yet been performed by the people of the Danes. They were a noble people. Then Hrothgar gave Beowulf the sword of Healfdene and a golden standard as sign of his victory. What if we made the Super Bowl trophy of gold instead? The Vikings knew how to give greater treasures than people in America, man. Just saying. We haven't even won one of them little trophies yet. Come on, where we at, man? Let's win one before we die, right? The kinsmen of those strong-hearted men drank many a mead cup in great goodwill. All hail wrought throughout was filled with friends, for treacheries had not yet been performed by the people of the Danes. Then Hrothgar gave Beowulf the sword of Healfdene and a gold standard as sign of his victory, a shining battle banner with helmet and armor. Many looked on as they saw the great sword borne before the hero, as Beowulf partook of the hall cup. He need not feel ashamed in front of the warriors for the splendid gifts that he had been given. Never have I heard of many among men giving forth such treasures adorned with gold in more friendly fashion to others on ale benches. Round the crown of the helmet was a rim wound with wires, held fast from without as a fortress for the head, a golden helmet for war. So a shower of swords, blades sharpened by files, might not cause severe wounds. When bearing his shield, the warrior must go forth in battle against foes. Then the protector of earls ordered 8 horses with gold-plated bridles led forth on the floor inside the hall, a saddle made with utmost skill, richly adorned. Was set on one of the horses. That was the war seat of the High King Hrothgar, when the son of Healfdene wished to engage in the play of swords. Never did his prowess fail in the forefront, where the slain fell around him, and then to Beowulf, this defender of the Danes, gave each of the gifts conferring power over horses and weapons that were to his joy, that were his to enjoy. Thus the renowned prince manfully paid for the glory in battle from the people's horde, with horses and treasures, so that none could find fault with his generous giving, if speaking the truth. When a king honors one of his soldiers, he does so openly, boldly, and publicly. The way of kings, as one day Jesus himself will do with his faithful servants. The way of kings is honor, not shame. For the shameful, their lot is in destruction, or they are outcast from the kingdom. It was such in the time of Beowulf, and it will be such in the time of Christ. And then the Danish prince, protector of earls, gave riches and ancestral treasures to each of the men there on the mead bench, who made with Beowulf the voyage over sea. He further ordered that payment be made in gold for the man whom Grendel had wickedly killed, and wished to kill more if he were not prevented by the providence of God. And the bravery of Beowulf, the Creator has ruled over all humankind, even as he does to this day. And amen to that. Amen to that. Therefore, sound thinking is everywhere best, the pondering of mind. Many shall live through the good and the bad, who for a long time lived here in the world during these days of strife. Then singing and music were mingled together, performed in the presence of Healfdane's war leader. Harp strings were strummed, and tales often told as Hrothgar's scop. Entertaining the hall was moved to relate, along the mead bench, the story of Finn's sons, when fighting broke out, and the hero of the Halfdanes, Hanaf of the Scyldings, was doomed to fall on the Frisian battlefield. It's like telling World War II stories, but ancient styles. You know what I mean? America, USA, USA! You know, I'm wearing a fighter pilot's jacket. It was just Veterans Day like last weekend. You know how many of our men died so that y'all could be free and ignore the precious gift of freedom? You know how many Norsemen died so that you could live free from the tyranny of other wicked men? And even wicked demons, dragons, Satan, and all of his hordes that are going to be in hell? And y'all just ignore it like it's a joke. The reason they had dragon helms and dragon masts is because they were dragon slayers. They were conquerors of wicked things. Think about it. And y'all want to worship Satan. The Vikings were dragon slayers and demon slayers. And we're going to be champions forever. We might not get a Super Bowl championship. That stuff is petty. And the way the NFL's going, honestly, homosexually, all this gay stuff, yeah, I'll say it. And I love y'all. I even love my enemies. I pray for them. But yeah, if you're going to have Michael Sam kissing on the NFL, to hell with that. That's wicked. Grow some balls again. You shouldn't have to get your nuts cut off to play in the NFL. That's how I see it. Good riddance, honestly. I used to want to play in the NFL. I'm good with the GDFL. They don't promote wickedness and profanity. So yeah, I could go on a rant all day about that. Go look up Steven Anderson videos. He's got his own way of doing that. But yeah, the Vikings were men, not emasculated, feminine. I could swear, but I won't. I got my own way of doing it. I got my own way of doing it. But yeah. Back to the story. Surely, Hildebert had no reason to honor the good faith of the Jutes, for she was without guilt, deprived of her dear ones, both son and brother, in the shield play, where they were fated to fall, wounded by spears. She was a most mournful woman. Not at all without cause did this daughter of Hawk bemoan fate's command when the morning came, for then she might see under light from the sky. Baleful murder of kinsmen were always before she had worldly joy. War swept away almost all the retainers of Finn, except only a few, so that he could not further engage in fighting the battle against Hengist, Danish leader after Hanaf, in that place of slaughter, nor dislodge their survivors by strength of arms. But peace terms were settled. The Jutes would provide other quarters to the Danes, a hall and high seat, where they could have power over half, sharing the rest with the sons of the Jutes. And the son of Folkwalda, at each day's gift-giving, would bestow honors on the band of Danes, handing out rings to Hengest and all his troop, a great wealth of treasures plated with gold, given just as freely as those he gave to Frisians whom he wished to encourage in the beer hall. Then on both sides they arrived at agreement, firm treaty of peace. Finn swore to Hengest with inviolable oaths that he would accord the Danish survivors the honors determined by his wise advisors, and that not any man should break their treaty by words or by works, nor through evil contrivance should ever complain, that since the fall of their king, the Danes now followed their ring-giver slayer, for necessity forced them. If any one of the Frisian men were to call to mind the murderous feud through foolhardy speech, then the edge of the sword should settle the matter. Men prepared the funeral fire with precious gold brought up from the hoard. The best of heroes of the war Scyldings was placed on the pyre. On top of the pyre, one could easily see mail stained with blood, golden images of swine, the iron-hard boar's head. So the Vikings, the boar was a powerful creature. It was what they feasted on. It was what gave them life and nourishment and strength. The boar's head. Many brave warriors dealt death by wounds. Many indeed fell in great slaughter. Many indeed fell in that slaughter. Then Hildebert ordered her son to be placed fast by Haneth on the pyre to commit to the flames for burning the body, and with him positioned at his uncle's shoulder. The woman then wailed, sang out in her grief as that warrior was raised up. The greatest of funeral fires wound up to the heavens, roaring from the burial mound, while heroes' heads melted. Round openings burst, and blood sprang forth from gashes in the bodies. The greediest of spirits, flames swallowed all whom war swept away, both Danes and Jutes, as they departed this life. Then the warriors went forth to seek out their dwellings, having lost their friends, and how fitting that J.R.R. Tolkien, a man who fought in the Great War, who lost 3 of his brothers, he was the one that got this book popular after it had been lost, almost like The Ring in his trilogy for time beyond time. A true story of the ancients of old. He lost all 3 of his friends, the 4 hobbits. Think about it. He compared his friends to him and his friends to the 4 hobbits. It's very similar to what I'm reading right now. Having lost their friends, he was the only one that survived the Great War. Having lost their friends to look out over Frisia on their homes in High Stronghold. Meanwhile, Hengest dwelled with Finn through the death-stained winter without any choice. He thought of his homeland though he was unable to sail out on the sea in his ring-proud ship. Storm surges welled up, driven by great wind, and winter locked up the waters. Bound fast in the ice till another year came around among dwellings of men, as it does to this day, forever observing the proper order of seasons with wondrous weather. Then winter was gone, the earth's bosom fair, the Dane eager to leave, the guest from his exile. Yet he gave much more thought to vengeance for treachery than he did to a voyage at sea, or to a sea voyage, how he might bring about a hostile encounter, since he bore in his mind the sons of the Jutes. So he did not refuse the rule of custom. When the son of Hunlaf laid his lap a bright shining war sword, the best of blades, its edges were already well known to the Jutes. Thus did brave-hearted Finn suffer a cruel fate, struck down in his home by a death-dealing sword, when two Danish warriors, Gulaf and Aslaf, just come back from the sea, complained of the treachery, blamed Finn for their woes. Such restless spirit could not be restrained. Then was the hall rended with the blood of foes, even as Finn was cut down, the king and his troop, and the queen taken safely. The warriors of the Scyldings then bore to their ships all the house goods possessed by the lord of that land, including all the jewelry and gems owned by Finn that they could find. Then setting forth on the sea, they carried noble Hildeburh back to her home among Danish people. Thus the lay was performed, the singer's sad tale. The singer's sad tale. Then revelry sprang up, a great noise among benches, as bearers of cups served wine from great vassals. Then Wealhtheow came forth, crowned with gold circlet, where the two good men sat, nephew and uncle, who were then still at peace, each true to the other. And court spokesman Unferth sat at the feet of the Danish king. Each one had faith that he had great courage, though with his kin Unferth lacked honor in swordplay. Then the queen of the Scyldings spoke. Receive this full cup from me, my own dear lord, great giver of treasures. May you always have joy, gold friend of the people. And speak to the Geats with gracious words, even as a true man should do. Be generous with these Geats, mindful of gifts that you have acquired from near and from far. Men have said that you would wish to have this hero as your son. Heorot has been cleansed, the hall bright with rings. You may enjoy many riches now while you live, and leave to your kinsmen the people and kingdom, when you must pass on, as destiny decrees as destiny decrees. For myself, I am sure that my gracious Horoth will hold sway with honor over the band of young warriors. If you before him go forth from this world, O friend of the Scyldings, I believe that he will bountifully repay our own sons, if he remembers all the kindnesses that we bestowed on him to fulfill his wishes, and conferred on him honors while he was a child. She then turned to the bench where her sons were seated. Hethric and Hrothmund, among young warriors' sons, youths gathered together. The great hero sat with them, Beowulf of the Geats, alongside the two brothers. The cup was borne to Beowulf and offered to him with words of friendship, and twisted gold presented with all goodwill. Two ornamented armbands, a mail coat and rings, and the greatest of neck rings, as I have heard told. Dude, to use my bros terms, dude, he was blinged out. Beowulf was like Exhibit and 50 Cent, Lil Wayne. He was all blinged out, bro. In honor. Noble honor. Street 2, shout out to Exhibit, X to the Z, Exhibit, bro. Also, that soundtrack, Street 2 soundtrack was awesome. I love Norse music, but dude, my bros know how to make some pretty good music too. My bros from Africa, they know how to make some pretty good music too. Shout out to y'all. 50 Cent, KB, my Christian rapper, love that dude. Sweet. Dude, you gotta come up with more good stuff. I'm gonna keep promoting it. Hopefully you're listening to this one day. 50 Cent, you too. I do stuff with you on my Facebook stories. Like, I shout out to you and stuff. Shot 9 times and lived. Talk about destiny, bro. Talk about destiny, bro. For real. All right. And the greatest of neck rings, as I have heard told, anywhere on the earth, nor beneath the heavens have I heard of better hoard treasures of heroes, since Hama carried off to his bright stronghold the neck ring, the Brosings, with jewels in rich settings, fled the battle rage of Eomenric, and chose eternal good fortune. Next, Hygelac the Geat, the grandson of Swartin, had that ring with him on his last expedition, when under his banner he fought for his treasure, his spoils from battle, war swept him away. When for foolhardy pride he sought his own doom, in feud against Frisians, that powerful prince had borne the neck ring with its beautiful stones. Over waves to the land where he fell under his shield. Then Franks took possession of the corpse of the king, the mail round his breast, and also that ring, and warriors of less worth plundered his dead body, cut down in the battle where the Geatish warriors occupied the place of corpses. The hall resounded with clamor. Then Wealhtheow spoke, saluting the warrior band. Have joy of this neck ring, beloved Beowulf, with good fortune in youth, and use well this mail shirt from our people's treasures, and savor prosperity, win fame through your skill, and give many sons, give my sons here your friendly counsel. I shall remember to give you reward for what you did here. Men will forever sing songs of praise, both near and far off, even as far as the sea flows round the headlands, the home of the winds. Be ever blessed while you live, a noble lord. I promise to give liberally to you from our treasure hoard, O happy man. I ask of you that you always act kindly toward my sons. Here each of the earls is true to all others, in a spirit of friendship, loyal to their lord. Thanes are mixing together in peace as a people, in fellowship of drinking. They do as I ask. She went to her seat. Then warriors drank wine. The most festive of feasting. They did not know Ward, the grim force of destiny. They did not know Ward, the grim force of destiny that would fall upon many of the earls after evening came and went. And Hrothgar departed to his own dwelling place to rest for the night. A countless number of nobles protected the hall, as they often had done in the past. The benches were cleared for bedding and bolsters. To spread over the boards, one of those beer feasters, one both lively and doomed, lay down in the hall. They set by their heads their broad battle shields, wood-rimmed with bright iron. There on the benches, hard by each hero, arms were easy to see. A high battle helmet, a coat of ringed mail, a mighty spear shaft. For it was their custom that they were always made ready for war. Both at home and in war band. So in either of those, they were equally prepared if the Lord of their people should have need and distress. That was a brave band. Always be ready. We have enemies in this country. We have wicked foes that hate Jesus and hate us. Be ready for war. Be ready. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. The Muslims destroyed New York. Be ready. Hear me, I love Muslims, and I love the Japanese. But if you're gonna fight, you better be ready, because we're here. And liberals, for God bless you, God bless all you liberals, for real. But we didn't get this country by being pansies. We didn't get this country by having flowers between our legs and like giving out flowers to our enemies. And here's the thing, I love Native Americans. I got this from the Native American powwow in Shakopee. I'm trying to make peace with those brothers. Thanksgiving is in a week from now, right? Thanksgiving's in a week from now. And the first Pilgrim Thanksgiving with the natives was a wonderful story. That's how it should have been. But there's greediness in the white man's heart. There's greediness in every man's heart. And it's so sad to see. I don't know if you watched that movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. Or it's so sad to see that peace is so often thwarted because of greediness and what I can take with my own hand. Jesus was about peace. He was. He would rather die for his enemies first. But here's the thing. Jesus is also the mightiest warrior in the galaxy, in the universe. Greater than Satan. Greater than any foe. And he knows how to make war. And make it righteously. Righteously. So you better be ready. I want to make peace with Muslims. I do. I want to make peace with the Japanese, with atheists, with agnostics. I want to make peace in Christ with the world. But you better be ready, just like they were. That's a warning. That's a lesson learned from Beowulf. They were always ready for war, for righteous war. That's what America was about from conception to today. Righteous wars. We better know how to wage them. They sank into sleep. One of those sorely paid for his rest that night, as had occurred often before when Grendel had held sway in that hall of gold. Ruled without right. Without right. There's plenty of wicked rulers that point their fingers that are wicked as hell. Wicked as hell. That's where wicked people will be, in hell. In H-E-L, the actual Norse word for hell. That's where we get it from, y'all. Hell was spelled H-E-L by the Norse. They believed, before Christ was even revealed to them, in Valhalla, an actual place of heaven, and in hell, an actual place of torment. So when Christ came to them, the gospel, many of them repented and believed. Just like you should. Just like I have. They sank into sleep. One of those sorely paid for his rest that night, as had occurred often before when Grendel held sway in that hall of gold, ruled without right, till he came to his end, dealt death for his sins. Yet it became known widely, spoken among men, that still an avenger lived on after that monster. Now a long time since he met his death, the mother of Grendel, a female monster, was minded to cause misery. She was doomed to dwell in some fearsome waters, streams cold as death. Since Cain had committed the brutal murder of his only brother, both with the same father, he was fated to wander marked for the murder
fleeing the joys of men, to dwell in the wasteland. From him descended doomed spirits of old. Dread Grendel was one. Gonna make you a believer, son. That much hated outlaw who discovered in Heorot a warrior on watch, all ready for battle. And honestly, I don't know who my wife is gonna be, or if I'm even gonna get a wife. But there's nobility among the tribes, and there was nobility among the chieftains and the tribes of the Norse as well. The Dakota were a noble tribe who the U.S. government did wrong. That's how I see it. And honestly, I would love a Lakota wife. I honestly could see that being a thing. If that's not in God's plan. If it's supposed to be somebody else, then whatever it will be, it will be. But y'all are that beautiful. I'm serious. The Lakota women, all the women on earth, I'm serious. Y'all are wonderfully beautiful. And you come from a wonderful history and a wonderful heritage that is full of honor, joy, and great goodness from the Creator. So peace to y'all, if you're listening. Dread Grendel was one, that much hated outlaw who discovered in Heorot a warrior on watch, all ready for battle. There the monster had seized a hold of the hero, but Beowulf bore in mind his marvelous strength, a wondrous gift which God had given him. So he counted on aid from the Almighty for help and support. Thus, he defeated the demon, just like David. And I'm sure the legends have probably been lost because of the sad way that the U.S. government tried exterminating the natives. There were probably men of old, braver than Crazy Horse, that had stories defeating demons and giants just like this. And y'all didn't have, you may have had a recorded history, but I don't know. It could have been lost. It would have been amazing to see, truly. It would have been amazing to see. To hear the chiefs of old tell their tales in truth. Chiefs of this land, the land of America, the land of Manhattan, Dakota, Lakota, Lakota. Native name for land. What is it? I'd like to learn. Thus he defeated the demon, laid low hell's creature, and the wretched one departed, deprived of joy, to seek out his death place, a fallen foe of mankind. And now came his mother, hungering for men's death, who desired to go on a sorrowful journey to avenge her slain son. She came then to Heorot, where around the hall the ringed Danes were sleeping. A reversal of fortune fell upon those men when the mother of Grendel penetrated within. The terror of this woman, her fury in fighting, only seemed any less when her strength was compared to a weaponed man. Armed with shining sword, forged by the smith's hammer, adorned with blood, slicing through the bore on an enemy's helmet with its battle-proved edges. Then all over the hall men took up their sharp swords. Wish I had my sword out here with me, the one I was showing you earlier. Their blades from the benches, and many a broad shield was heaved up by strong hands. was heaved up by strong hands. They did not even think of their stout mail coats when seized by this terror. She was in haste, wished to escape that hall, to save her life. Now that she had been seen, quickly she laid hold of one of those heroes, held him fast in her grip, then rushed off to the fen. That doomed man was the dearest to Hrothgar of his noble retainers. Anywhere between the seas, a strong shield bearer whom she slew where he slept, a widely famed warrior. Nor was Beowulf there, but he was earlier assigned another resting place. After the giving of treasures to the glorious Geat, shouts cried out in Heorot. She had taken the famed hand, covered with gore, and now grief surged once more, brought again to their homes. It was not a good bargain that those on both sides were driven to deal with the lives of loved ones. The cost is great when the lives of one's loved ones are at stake. Then the wise Danish king, the hoary old warrior, grew heavy in heart when he learned his chief thane. Think about your closest friend right now on this earth dying today. How would you feel? When he learned his chief thane was no longer living and came to realize his dear friend was dead, quickly Beowulf was fetched, a man blessed with victory, to the king's bedchamber. At the break of day, he went with his warriors. A noble champion among his companions, to where the king waited, longing to know whether the Almighty would ever bring about change after this long spell of suffering. The war-worthy man walked across the floor with his band of heroes. The whole wood resounded so that he could address the king of the Danes with formal words, asking if he had enjoyed an agreeable night after the evening's feasting. Hrothgar replied, "The ruler of the Scyldings, ask not about gladness. Grief is renewed for the Danish people. Akeri is dead, the elder brother of Yarmanlaf, the Dane. Don is my counselor, my close advisor, my shoulder companion when we were in warfare. Shielded our heads as troops clashed in conflict, striking boar helmets. So should a warrior be, a loyal leader of men." A loyal leader of men. A loyal leader of men. As Akshari surely was. Akshari surely was. Here in Heorot, he was slain by the hand of a wandering marauder. I know not where she went from here, exulting in the horrid carcass, reveling in her feast. Thus she avenged the feud from your slaughtering her son 2 nights ago. In fearsome fighting with her with your powerful grip, in fearsome fighting with your powerful grip. Since he had a long while destroyed and depleted the numbers of my people, he perished in battle, forfeited his life, and now comes another of the mighty evildoers to avenge her kinsman. And she has gone far to reach her revenge, as many a thane may certainly think. But grieves for Akshai, is giver of treasure, in the pain of heart sorrow. The hand now lies dead, which ever dealt kindly with all you desired, the loss of a loyal friend, a loyal warrior. You can feel, you can hear the heartache in the voice of the king. Think about the heartache in the voice of Jesus when he loses a faithful servant. Think about it. I have heard many people who live in this land, my own hall counselors, relate strange stories that they themselves saw two of such great March dwellers holding sway in the moors, unearthly creatures. One of that couple was, as far as they clearly might make out, the likeness of a woman. Think about this. If God has the power to create, if Elohim has the power to create wonderful creatures, man in his own image, does Satan have the ability to create wicked creatures? Think about it. I'm on a different level, brothers. Come on now. You got to get with it. You got to start eating the meat of the Holy Bible and start seeing the truth. Does Satan have the ability to make wicked creatures, demons, dragons, different creatures of old that tormented mankind in ancient times? If he had the ability to make giants, did he have the ability to make something else that men, holy men, had to go fight to their death? Think about it. Giver of treasure, in the pain of heart sorrow, the hand now lies dead, which ever dealt kindly with all you desired. I have heard my people who live in this land, my own hall counselors, relate strange stories that they themselves saw two of such great March dwellers holding sway in the moors, unearthly creatures. One of that couple was, as far as they clearly might make out, the likeness of a woman, while the other wretch walked the ways of exile in the form of a man. Though much more massive than any other human, the giant Nephilim. From olden days, those who dwelt in those lands named that one Grendel. They knew not his father, or whether that father ever had other offspring. Dark, spirited creatures. They lived in a distant land of desolate wolf slopes and of windy headlands. A dangerous marsh path, a mountain stream there, departs in dark mist far under the rock walls, an underground flood. It is not far from here, measured in miles, where the mere stands. Great trees hang above it, heavy with frost, cold. Woods held fast by roots overshadowed the water, an omen of evil. Every night may be seen flames on that flood. There is no one so wise that he can determine its bottomless depth. Though the heath stepper, a stag with strong horns, seeking safety in woods, was forced into flight, pressed hard by hounds, It would rather surrender its life on the bank before jumping in that water. Flames of water, what? Think about that. What does that mean? To protect itself. That is no pleasant place. Towering waves surge upward on high, dark under clouds, and the wind whips up terrible storms. And the sky blackens with gloom as the heavens whirl. Our only hope for help rests with you alone. You have not yet encountered that place of great peril where you can find that creature of sin. Seek it if you dare. I will give you gifts, many ancient treasures, for your help in this feud, even as I earlier gave twisted gold rings. When you return, a victor. And there for now is where we're gonna stop. My phone's about to... So, I'd love to end it well and have a good conversation, but I don't know how long this is gonna last, so I love you. God bless you. And stay with me.